welcome to North Lanarkshire Council's online visual arts programme. My name is Rachel, welcome to week 5, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this little paper flower. So yeah, let's make a wee start. For this you will need some watercolour paints, some paintbrushes, water, a glue stick, some leaves that are preferably really fresh so they're nice and flexible, and some crayons. These are little templates, but we'll get to these in a bit. Alright, and a plain page. So the first step that we're going to do is we're going to make our page to work off. So I'm just going to start putting some leaves under this and doing some rubbings. And you can see there, because the leaves are really fresh, all these lovely marks are showing up. And we're just going to do this all over our page, and we're just going to build up a nice kind of collage of colourful leaves and use different ones. Right. And feel free to overlap colours as well. This leaf's a wee bit older, so it's not showing up quite as nice. Still some nice shapes there. And sometimes it's actually quite nice to use white because we're going to be going over this in watercolour, which is going to be resisted on the page by your crayons. So actually the white is going to leave a trace that should hopefully show up quite nicely. You can sort of layer them up if you want. And I'm going to go back to the right. Alright, so you want to build this up. Once you've done one side, you're going to flip your page and you're going to do exactly the same. Alright, so you would build that side up completely as well. Once you've done that, you're going to take your brush, get it quite nice and wet, and you're just going to pick a colour. So I'm going to go for green. But I'm going to use my palette here first of all. I'm using quite a lot of water to get this nice and wet. And I can kind of test this on my page. I don't want it to be too wet, but you can kind of see that green showing up there. And that's really nice because it's going in between the gaps where there's no crayon, and it's going to kind of fill your page out with nice colours. I'm going to use some blue. And again, you can kind of see where we did the white there. You've got this nice shape here. It's quite rich, that colour. So try not to get your page too wet. You're going to use quite a thin layer because your page will kind of warp if it gets too wet. Back to some green. Okay. So you're going to leave that to dry, and then you're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Alright, so once you've done this, you've let it dry on both sides, you're going to have something that looks a little bit like this. Now my colours are slightly different. It's a wee bit more faded. I haven't been as bold with my colours this time, but that's okay. It's just to get a nice pattern. So once you've done this, you are going to, this is just a template that I've got, but you're just going to draw 2 leaf shapes, one fairly big and one fairly small. Okay. And don't worry too much about being super accurate, as long as there's a kind of like size difference, and even, you know, if that's a bit too big, you can cut it off and just draw them freehand. And if they're all a bit wonky, that's okay, because leaves are kind of wonky anyway. So you're going to do that. So you're going to do 4 big ones and you're going to do 4 small ones. Okay, so I'll leave these up here. I've kind of said that's roughly about 8 centimeters by 5 centimeters, and then 2 centimeters down at the bottom. And then the smaller one is 1.5 by 4 by 7 centimeters. So there's not very much in it, but there's just a wee bit of a difference in size. The other thing that you're going to need is a rectangle about that size, and then you're going to need a circle that we're going to use for our base. Okay, so once you've got that drawn out, again, try and be quite careful with your spacing so you can get them all onto one page. But I mean, you can make this as big as you want, your flower. So if you want to make multiple pages and make a really big one, that would definitely work as well. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to cut all these out, and you are going to have your rectangle, your circle, 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller ones, and your 4 bigger ones. Okay, so once you have these, now we're going to do a little fold on each one, and that's going to help it stay together in its shape. So I'll show you in this bigger one here. We're going to fold it in half this way, then we're going to unfold it. We are going to fold up along the bottom just ever so slightly, and maybe I'll just draw a wee line on this so you can see. So up the middle of every one and then along here. Alright, so once you've done that, you are going to kind of crease your edges together. Keep your finger down here, and there's kind of a natural little triangular fold happens. So it kind of looks like this. Alright, so we're going to do that for each of our ones. Fold in half, unfold, little bit at the bottom, finger on the bit at the bottom, pinch this, push it in, and crease. Okay. Okay, so now you can see these kind of have like a little flat base on them. So we're going to start with our bigger ones, take our circle, and we're going to take our glue. And there's almost like a little triangle bit in the bottom there. That is the bit that we're going to glue. So you can kind of just glue the whole of the bottom, it doesn't really matter, it'll hold it together quite nicely. And stick that on your middle there. Okay, so you're just going to work around and do this for all of them. So that is your first layer there, done. And now we're going to work in on our smaller one, and we're going to put them at an angle. So you can see the way these ones are like this. We're going to go at an angle to it and stick them in there. And it's just the same, wee bit of glue on the bottom. And then press them in. Seem to be a wee bit more gentle with this part. Okay. So if you wanted, you could make another smaller series of petals and add them on the inside, but we're going to go with that for now. So our next stage is we're going to take our rectangle, we're going to fold up a little bit on the bottom, not very much, maybe just a centimetre or so. I'll just mark that for you so you can see. And now we're going to hold it like this, and we're going to make lots of little thin cuts right down to that line. And you want to keep these really nice and fine. Okay, so once you have that done, you're going to have this kind of thing that looks a bit like this. Now at this point, if you want, you can take a couple of them and maybe wind them round a pen or a pencil. You could kind of even just do it with your hands if you wanted, kind of crunch them up and make them a wee bit all over the place and not just standing straight upright. So once you've done this, you're going to kind of fold it over on itself so that's quite nice and thick now, like that. And then we're just going to fold down, wee dab of glue, and stick it right in the middle. Okay, so there we go. There's your little flower. Thank you very much for watching. This is North Lanarkshire Council, and tune in next week for our next video. Thank you.